Good morning. Thursday morning. The time is 8:31 a.m. 8:31 a.m. We are almost underway, everyone. Thanks for joining. Let's see, we got a few people out there. All right, y'all. What's going on, Barry Love? I see you out there. Tracy Green, Melba Clayton, Andrea, Brother Rick Ross is here. Everybody is here this morning. All right. More are coming in. All right. All right. Raquel is with me working behind the scenes. Thank you so much, Raquel, for your support. We have Montina Young Fraser here this morning to speak to us. Going to have a lively conversation this morning. All right. The time is 8:32 a.m. We are almost underway. All right, y'all, let's jump into it. This is National Black Business Month. The last few days of it, we've had a wonderful month working on your behalf of Black businesses and members of the Atlanta Black Chambers. Yes, welcome to the Thursday's edition of Public Policy Talks brought to you by Advancing Black Businesses. My name is Markee Tate, president of Advancing Black Businesses, where we are showing you, we are educating you, we are talking to you about engaging in this political process in a manner that will change your lives, change your community, and definitely change your Black business for the betterment of your family and of this community. So thanks a lot for joining us again, Public Policy Talks, where we talk about public policy as it relates to you. We talk about public policy during this election cycle. Yeah, this election cycle is heating up, particularly at the presidential level. We have the president, the vice president is here in the state on a bus tour with the vice presidential candidate also. So look out. You may see her in your backyard. She's in the southwest part of Georgia right now. She was in Savannah yesterday. You may have seen it on the news. You have the former vice president that is also out on the campaign trail. So it's the election is heating up. You have several polls out there. Polls are used as a guide of where the likely voters, if they're voting today, are going to vote. And it is a heated race, definitely a heated race. But National Black Business Month, the National Black Philanthropic Month also. This is the time to celebrate your Black business during this National Black Business Month. We have several things going on. Last night we had our State of the Black Farmers, sponsored by ABB and ABC. Dr. Diane Daniels-Adoma had a great panel discussion on the state of Black farmers, a lively conversation. We had about 90 people on Zoom last night. Some of you may have been on there. So had a great time. Great time. Thank you, Dr. Diane Daniels-Adoma, Melvin Coben, President and CEO of the Atlanta Black Chambers, for a great event. Also tonight, ABC Governmental Affairs event. What you need to know to be vote ready. Tonight, that'll be going in the chat. Please register for that. We're talking about what you need to know to get out and vote. A lot of good information from Helen Butler of the People's Agenda. We're going to have a great time tonight. Great time tonight. Also, the first interview for the Vice President, Kamala Harris, and Governor Walz tonight. I think that is at 9 p.m. tonight on CNN. We have the debate on September the 10th. The first debate on September the 10th. We are looking at the possibilities of pulling together a watch party or supporting a watch party. Hopefully we'll have that announcement out on next week. Again, get ready for it. There may even be an event on Zoom the day before that we will be participating in. We're working on pulling some things together for that. That's going to be a big day on the first day of the debate. Also, again, we have Montina Young Fraser on. She's going to bring some information to you this morning. Montina, I want to get you queued up and get you ready to roll. Most know of you. Montina is a frequent visitor and spokesperson on ABB's Public Policy Talks. I know you have a presentation you want to show. Raquel may be queuing it up, and thank you so much again, Raquel. Can't say enough about that. You'll probably hear me say that a few more times. So turn it over to you, Montina. Take it away.
All right, awesome. Hey, y'all. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Raquel's going to bring up a presentation. I'll put my LinkedIn in the chat. I am now the Government Affairs Chair for Atlanta Black Chambers, and Hayden Singleton is my co-chair. So you'll also see him throughout the time. So if you get an email from me or an update from me or him, please respond and let us know how we can help. But what I'm going to do today, you all know I like to focus on the local. And then I see here Raquel is bringing it up. We see her beautiful flower on her screen. But focusing on local, it is extremely important for us to understand how local politics work and how it's relevant for us as business owners. So let me see here. And so what I wanted to do is talk about, I have legislative here when she brings up the slides, leadership, legislation, and local. And I have the $100 million challenge because you all know when I come on here, I like to talk about bidding and business. And so my challenge to all of you always is, how are we looking at the local opportunities for us to bid on these opportunities and gain access to opportunities? So I do a Tuesday talk at 2 p.m. where I talk about the Georgia procurement. Now, also today, we're going to focus on legislation. So if Raquel, you can just go ahead to slide 3, and then we're going to head to slide 4. We're going to talk about local, but I want to talk about federal first. The federal government uses special programs to help small businesses win at least 23% of all federal contracting dollars each year, okay? Federal contracting dollars. Just so you know, and I'm looking at a different screen here. On the contract values, anything from $3,500 to $150,000 is automatically and exclusively set aside for small businesses. $150,000 or more, and this is on our next slide. Thanks, Raquel. It's set aside if there are 2 or more small businesses that could do the work. Many of you all went through Ms. Paula Watt's class, and it must first consider 8A, Hub Zone, service disabled, veteran-owned small businesses, and our WASB set-asides. No worries, Raquel. And 700.
Yeah, I'm having.
It's no problem. You can leave it right there. No problem at all. $700,000 or more for non-construction contracts, if not set aside for small businesses, must have a subcontracting plan if awarded to a non-small business. Anything 1.5 million or more in the construction contracts, if not set aside for small businesses, must have a subcontracting plan if awarded to a non-small business. Now that's on the federal level. Okay, so federal level already has all of these set asides. They already have things set aside for small businesses. They have sole sourcing. We understand these terms. And again, you work with Ms. Paula Watt, she covers everything extensively on the federal side. So let's talk about legislation and understanding how state politics work. So I thought to myself, I was actually at an event over the weekend, and something that had come to me while I'm doing a lot around local politics and local budgets and local procurement. We have a surplus in our state. In Gwinnett County, there is a $2.53 billion budget. In Fulton County, you all have this high level. Let me hear our budget information. I'm going to bring it up here. In Henry County, where I live, we have a $259.7 million budget, $20.7 million over the 2024 budget. That's for 2024. In Fayette County, they have a $144 million budget. In Fulton County, they're approving billions. Fulton County approves a tighter budget, and that was just in 2024. They had a $1.3 billion budget. My school district has a $564 million budget. And I thought to myself, well, how is it that they have all of this money, but guess what? There are no set-asides in our state. That's where legislation comes in and where we start understanding how state politics work. And that's why I am a huge advocate for local politics. We live here, y'all. We live in these communities, we play in the communities, we work in the communities, we're building business in these communities, and we're not doing business in our local communities. And so Markee is just now hearing this for the first time. We actually are going to have 50 people that are going to be in a room down at SBA in October. And this is actually going to be going across the state, where we are going to do our best to get legislation passed so that we can have set asides for small businesses in our state. We do not have set asides for our small business. And that's a problem because they have set asides for our small businesses at the federal level. So why don't they have set asides for small businesses at the state level? I've actually run this across actually 2 COOs. Your county has a county manager or a county administrator. You have a chief operating and chief financial officer in our counties managing all of this money. And they said, wow, that makes us, I don't know why we don't have set asides. We as business owners are competing with the larger businesses. When I'm going through and doing market research and looking at these contracts, we can't compete with a $50 million, $100 million, $30 million, $20 million business. And so we actually, thank you, Crystal, for having that up. We have a select few that it's going to be invitation only. But I want you all to know that these are the types of things that I'm doing over here on the other side as I'm thinking through these, because yes, you can play at the federal level. I don't want to play at the federal level. I play at the state level. But if any federal dollars are attached to it and it has a DBE goal, then you know there is a goal, but there's a good faith effort along with that goal. But if we can get legislation passed for set asides, just like the federal government has, so it just makes sense, then more of us as business owners can participate in the opportunities that are out in Georgia procurement. There's no reason why our counties have all of this money. Our state has a budget with all of this money. And the bigger businesses are the reason why our state is the #1 state to do business in. And we have to change that narrative. So that's actually what I wanted to share today. You all know I do advocate for getting involved in local politics, but I'm not going to take up all of this time to do so. I do a call every Tuesday at 2 talking about business. And I do a call every Tuesday at 2:30 separated out talking about politics. So thank you, Raquel, for sharing the presentation. And Markee, that's it for me. I'm going to hop on the road and head down to Rice. If any of you all are at the Russell Innovation Center for Entrepreneurs today, I am leading a class on certification. So I'll see you there.
All right. Thank you so much, Montina. That was great information. As we know, all politics are local. We have a lot of opportunities right here in our backyard to actually gain traction on the contracting level at that local level. Thank you so much, Montina, for bringing up the set asides. There are no set asides. Definitely at that state level. We have written legislation at the state level. We, meaning advancing Black businesses, have uh, written public policy initiatives, which are in the form of statutes and at the state level. I'm a loss for words, y'all. My tongue is getting twisted. But we wrote some legislation. It's actually on our website, Advancing Black Biz, BIZ, legislation that we authored, and it was centered around set asides, and we could not get it out of committee. So we have the HB 128, which created the Team Georgia Marketplace, where we have a recognition of a minority business certification at the state. But as Montina stated, there's a lot of opportunities in your local municipalities and counties out there. There's a lot of spending power there. And Montina, thank you for being that lead person in that particular area at that local level. Also, everyone, last week at the DNC, there was a certain speech by the vice president. Baraka, if you can put that transcript in the chat, really appreciate it. A lot of things actually said in her speech. I was going to share the actual speech transcript, but I'm not able to share it. I'm having some technical problems over here, but we'll make it happen sometime later. I want to hear from you. If you heard that speech, you listened to it, you heard excerpts of that speech. Was she talking directly to you? Was it inspiring to you? That DNC speech. The campaign is on full speed ahead on both sides of the aisle. We're looking to hear more about public policy, those public policy initiatives. We heard so much chatter around Project 2025. I think someone just put some information in there with the word Project 2025 in the chat. I am in tune of looking at the policies definitely on both sides. I'm looking more at the vice president's policies than anything. You voted or took a poll, and Raquel, if you could put that poll up when you're ready. We take that temperature check, and in the past weeks, the temperature check was sitting around your support for the vice president was somewhere around at 86%. 86%. So that's why you hear me talk more about the vice president, talk about the vice president's policies, talk about that speech. You hear a lot and less from the other side of the aisle because you're looking at leaning towards that way. Also, after the speech, and I don't know if Henry is on. Henry Caslin, are you out there? Henry, Omar Ali, board member of Advancing Black Businesses, and three other Black men were on CNN
Yeah, I'm here.
recording. And yes, appreciate it, Henry. Want to just say a few things about your experience. You were recording right after that speech, and you heard us talk about it last week on Public Policy Talks. That there was a chance that I may be on CNN, but Henry, Omar Ali, and three other Black men were on recording their responses to that speech, and that was aired on the Victor Caldwell show on this past Saturday morning. That'll be put in the chat also. But any comments around that? Sorry to call you out, Henry. I was going to text you to make a few comments, but you were on CNN on the national television. What's going on, Henry?
Yeah. So good morning, everyone. Victor Blackwell, actually, I believe it is. He's on Saturday mornings. And so right after this speech, myself, Omar Ali, another gentleman named Charles, who's more conservative Republican, another gentleman named Hakeem Webb. If you've ever listened to WOK, I've had Hakeem on the radio calling in, sharing financial advice. And then another gentleman, young man by the name of Anthony. I guess you would say Hakeem is conservative. So they was trying to get a mix of undecided conservative, more than likely will vote for Kamala. And they just wanted to get our feedback about the speech. I guess what I shared mainly is that I felt the speech was safe. I think Kamala is always positive, and they're using the term joyful. I think it was more of what we already heard, and actually more of what we heard the whole week during the convention. So I don't know if her speech, in my opinion, actually moved the needle that much, other than I think she's playing it safe. I think she's steady. I think the honeymoon is over. I think we need to figure out, if it's still, do we have Kamala 2.0, or is it the same Kamala from 2019 and 2020? I pointed that out. I was pleased to hear her mention her father, because everybody's bringing this thing up about Black men and voting, which I still feel is a myth, especially in Georgia. You can't have 90% of the vote if only one part of the Black community is voting. And, we don't have young people under a certain age voting. So it has to be most of the Black community. So Black men are voting. But I feel like if you want to really talk to Black men, you have a Black father, and my point was, what makes her Black is not going to Howard or being a AKA. What makes her Black is her Jamaican father. So it seems like this, we talk about the policies, but, she's traveling with Tim Walz this week. And my wife was like, why is she traveling with him? Because she has a connect. She doesn't connect with everybody. She doesn't connect with the white people in rural Georgia. So she's going to have to travel with Tim Walz. And so if you want to talk to Black men, connect with us through your father, who is a great man, very respected, professor of economics at Stanford. So that is some of the things we talked about. And then the Republican gentleman, Charles, he's all Trump. He was Trump talking, and, that's where he stands. My other friend, Hakeem, conservative, but more than likely he'll vote for Kamala. And then very intelligent young man. If you watch it again, Anthony, I thought Anthony made us some good points, and it was great having Omar on there. Thank you for that, Markee. So it was a great talk. It was a great talk.
Yes, it was a great talk. So that's going to be put in the chat shortly if it hasn't already been put in the chat. That full clip of about 10 minutes that you hear from Henry and others, including Omar Ali and 3 other Black men talking about that speech. So a good conversation. Great job, Henry. I had a chance to talk to the producer of the show. We had a great conversation. So you may hear more from Black men when it comes to Victor Caldwell's Saturday morning show. So the
Markee, can I point
lines
out
are.
one other thing?
Go ahead.
One thing I made a point of, women need to stop feeling the need to validate themselves in leadership. So Victor asked us, how you think the country would feel about women being in leadership. I mean, and like I said, I'm from the Black community, so we're used to having women as leaders. They need to talk to the other groups about that. We don't have that problem, and so that was the other point I made on the show, and I wanted to point out.
Okay, thanks a lot, Henry. Made some definitely some great points in and around the VP's speech. So a great conversation. Please listen to that on YouTube. Well, the lines are open. Please raise your hands if you want to make a comment. You have a question. The temperature check is on the screen. Looking at that temperature check, going up to the top. Raquel, how would you rate your overall satisfaction with this current presidential candidates? Very satisfied at 23%, satisfied 23%, neutral 47%, dissatisfied 3%, very dissatisfied at 3%. Which candidate do you believe best represents your values and priorities? 8%, Donald J. Trump. That is 72%. The Vice President Harris, and other is at 19%. Y'all, 19%. And then how confident are you in the ability of your preferred candidate to address key issues facing the country? That's economy, healthcare, education. Very confident at 30%, confident at 25%, neutral at 35%. Not confident at 10, and going down to, do you think VP Harris' economic agenda is strong enough for Black America? This was similar last week. We have yes at 43%, no at 57%. Now, just speaking of that economy, the vice president has the opportunity economy agenda that I'll call it. I've seen a lot of that's the buzzwords around that economic agenda. You have Agenda 47 on the other side. Also, that's what's up on the former president's website. Hey, compare them side by side. One could outweigh the other, depending on your opinion of the economy, what's going on in your household, what's going on with your Black business. This is the time to pick apart their agendas. The VP is coming out with more and more about her agenda. I'm definitely looking to see a lot more than what I've seen. I haven't seen a lot yet. Some say that's because it's early on in the race for the vice president. So we're definitely looking to hear and see more from the vice president on what she is going to do. So raise your hand if you have any comments. The time is 8:54. The time is 8:54. We'll be leaving at 9 a.m. or just after 9 a.m. We're also looking at the possibilities are really going to increase the time to 9:15. More than likely, that'll start next week or in one of the coming meetings. We're going to officially increase to 9:15. That is Tracy Green. I saw that comment in the chat. Tracy, go ahead. What's going on?
Yes. Good morning, Markee. What I want to talk about just quickly, because you were talking about, local communities, and so was Martina. But I'm wondering, is her group going to also look at the areas of local communities that are in poverty, right? And so, because it's a double-edged sword. If I'm a startup business, I can't open up a business in a poverty area. So I go to another community that's thriving. So that money is it's never getting to our local community. So I'm really thinking that we should find a way to start figuring out how we could revitalize these poverty areas so that we can have Black businesses in our local communities and not have to go out to communities that are thriving outside our communities, and we're giving them the money when our local communities need it. So just a thought.
Yes, and you're speaking of the vice president. What when you said
Uh,
her?
no, I'm actually speaking about how Black businesses are going to thrive in their communities, right? And so, Martina was talking about at local level and where money is. Well, if we're talking about um, areas that are in poverty, that money's not there, the community's not there, the people are not there, right? And
Yeah,
so we have to start somewhere, because we can't be Black businesses and become strong if we can't put that money back into our communities. And so how we get there is, I found out, I did a little research, is that the mayors have a lot of power to revitalize communities. So we have to start talking about how we can bring our communities back so that we can have Black businesses. Otherwise, that money goes to another whole community that it never filters back to our communities. So,
right. Yeah.
yeah.
Tracy, you bring out some great points. You heard me talk a lot about resources in our community, about that data point numbers on the racial wealth gap. I said last week about when I look at public policy from an economic standpoint, the first thing I'm looking at, and I stated this last week of, is this going to is this going to push the racial wealth gap in another way? Meaning that it's going to close the racial wealth gap. And I don't see that in anybody's policies right now. So that's how you change our community. You hear a lot about gentrification within our community right now. Gentrification is set by changing the structures in our community, but more importantly, it is set of changing the people in our community, and not changing the actual household of that makeup of the existing household, but moving other people in, and really moving white people in our communities. And that's called gentrification. And I'm just kind of touching on that lightly, but I think that needs to be changed. I think we need to change the people, the makeup of the people in our community, by fueling resources in that community. And that definitely starts at the local level, but it actually ends at that federal level in the funding that actually goes in those zip codes.
Right.
Shirley Hines. Shirley Hines, what's going on, Shirley Hines? Please introduce yourself also, Shirley.
Good morning, everyone. I'm the president and founder of the West Central Georgia Black Chamber, and thank you for this opportunity. Just briefly, Markee, how I'm a former elected official, and one thing that everyone hears from me all the time, one of the things that we have to do is every city, every county has a comprehensive plan. That plan projects what that county and city should be doing in the next 10 years. Everyone needs to know what that consists of. And the reason it's important is you cannot get federal or state dollars unless you have presented that on a level so that they can know what it is that you plan to do with those dollars that you're going to get. The most important thing the young lady was saying about communities and making sure that we have things in our community, you need to go to the planning and zoning. Things are planned out 15, 20 years out. And if you're not there in that early discussion to say what that looks like, a prime example, when I was an elected official, someone came and said, we want recreation in our area. Okay, fine. What does that recreation means? What does that means to you? Another group came and said, we're wanting to have more recreation and we want pickleball. We want soccer fields. We have to be very intentional and strategic when we come, and we have to be consistent. And we have to know where those dollars are that are being allocated, and the budget will tell you. The second thing is go back and see how they've already spent money. And if they have any state or federal money, most of that requires, not all, that certain things are set aside for minorities. And if it's not there, then as Montina said, we can hold our elected official accountable and make that part of that discussion. But we have to be consistent and being part of these meetings and getting on these boards. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Shirley. Great input into the system, and definitely have talking from experience of a former elected official and now a president of a Black chamber here in the state of Georgia. Thanks a lot, Shirley. Appreciate your support. Montina, I see your hand up. What's up?
Hey, y'all, I'm going to try to make this quick. So one thing, when I'm talking about our communities and all the money. I'm talking procurement. Nobody is holding any of us back from procurement, which is why I'm very specific about every week on my own dime, my own time, I host a call to help you understand how procurement works, how to gain access to opportunities. The second thing is our former commissioner has stated she had a business expo where, I mean, it's like pulling teeth to get people out into these, you know, events where we have local and elected officials. The third thing is please don't go, you know, I'm doing a Tuesday talk at 2:30 with politics because when you show up and complain, they have a deaf ear on you. I have been moving and shaking in my community for about 3 years since I moved out here to Henry County with my husband, and I am asked to sit on board. Someone came to me and they want me to madam chair a specific board that has millions of dollars in revenue that they're generating. We have to move a specific way. We have to understand when our former commissioner is talking about showing up at these zoning meetings, what are you going to say? What are you going to do? So I try to, you know, I'm trying to give you all what I've gained after 3 years because I'm going into politics next year, but we have to move a certain way. But there's plenty of dollars, plenty of opportunities. Nobody's holding nothing from any of us. But you don't know how to move in the room, so they don't listen. And that's all I'm going to say. Please understand how to move in these rooms.
All right. Thanks a lot. Montina. Hey, y'all, it is 9:02 with 2 minutes out. So thank you for joining us this morning for Advancing Black Businesses Public Policy Talks. We'll be back next week. Remember, we'll be increasing to 9:15 to make sure you get your comments in. I know we have a lot of comments in the chat. Anything that we missed, Raquel, out there?
No, I think everyone had the opportunity to express what they were saying. So we're good.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Raquel. Appreciate your support. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning for Advancing Black Businesses Public Policy Talks. We will see you on next week. Have a great one, y'all. Have a great one. Also, I did not mention the DC Fly-In is coming up September the 12th through the 15th. The DC Fly-In, looking forward with the group that is going up. We're getting everything set, and we have a meeting for those who are going with us on September the 5th, right after this meeting. Public Policy Talks. Thanks a lot, y'all. Y'all have a good one.